Hello and welcome to Writing in the Weeds. This is episode 122, and we are going to chat about changing your state. Partially because we're in a bit of a funk today. So it's going to be a bit of a vulnerable share kind of an episode. We are getting to the end of the year. December is always a bit funky. Either you're like, I'm hitting all my goals, I'm a rock star, or you're like, oh my God, is it really Christmas again and I'm living in Groundhog Day? Or you're somewhere in between. So let's talk a little bit about changing your state, what that looks like when things feel sticky, things feel tough. It is, did I say it was the year of the snake that we are moving out of? So, like, shedding that skin, and then we're moving into the year of the horse, which apparently means that we are going to just gallop off. I read somewhere that there's 3 astrological signs that are going to just make all the money in 2026. And Leo is one of them. So I'm quite excited about that. I'm like, okay.
Lucky you.
Yep. Lucky me. We've got this. It's about freaking time. I feel like I deserve it. And yeah, we'll get into this, but I was having a really interesting conversation with someone the other day about looking at our successes and looking at our failures. And then I was reading my book, and honestly, we'll get into this as well. I'm just getting too much battering from external sources that's not helpful right now. So this episode is brought to you today by Train Your Body to Wealth. This is a course from Laura Michelle Wolf, who has been on our show recently. We did an episode with her, and the Train Your Body to Wealth program is a 40-day journey where every morning every day, you listen to a 10-minute meditation, and it's all about stepping into the I wonder or I don't know how questions, which change the state of your brain and change the I don't know how to I wonder, right? And I was listening to another coach the other day that was talking about how there is a universal energetic traffic jam around the I don't know how, or I can't do this, and people literally die in this traffic jam. You get stuck there and you never move out. And the whole concept behind the Train Your Body to Wealth is that it helps you move out of the traffic jam and onto the freeway that's moving energetically fast and allowing you to, I wonder how, or I don't know how this happened, but it did. And it's that whole concept around future writing and just moving the energetics away from, I don't know how this happened, to it just happened because I chose it to. This is a $97 program. It's 40 days. And the other invitation is to really allow yourself to celebrate every single day the little things, and to move your mindset from the things that you haven't done or you haven't achieved or that you haven't got to what you do have. And when we start to shift from one to the other, we start to move forward. But if we're energetically stuck in that one spot, we're just in that traffic block. And that's generally every single Instagram person who is trying to make money through influencing on something on Instagram is feeding you the same message. When you move into energetic alignment, you can have anything that you want. And the Train Your Body to Wealth course is a very simple, very easy, very digestible course that will help you do that. So you will find the link in our recording. It's an affiliate link, so it will give us a kickback. So thank you so much for supporting us. And yeah, go and check it out. You can also check out the amazing landing pages and funnels that are set up with it, because I did that. And it was really fun and really enjoyed it. So anyway, go check out Train Your Body to Wealth. The episode is brought to you today by Laura Michelle Wolf and her program. So I am Natasha Lockie, and I am a business builder. I set up things like sales pages and online courses and websites and basically anything that I can do to help a creator of any sort, a coach, fashion designers, all of those things, get across the line. That's my goal. That's what I'm here for. And I'm here joined with Jenny, who is going to introduce herself, and then we'll kick into the real episode here.
Yeah, I'm Jenny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. If you are struggling with your pet with behavioral challenges, emotional issues, or if you have a lot going on in your life, this is also a great time to have a session because our pets often get thrown off when our routine changes. And so, coming into the holidays, if you think that you might like a little extra support to prevent those accidents or damage to the things that you care about, like presents or your favorite shoes before you have to go out, please do reach out to me and let's set something up to support both of you.
All right, so changing our state. When do we need to do this? Why do we need to do this? How do we do this? All of the things.
Those are all good questions to start with. And I think the first piece that's probably the most important to talk about is that you really can't change your state until you have some sort of level of awareness. So that doesn't matter whether it's a good thing or a not good thing. I don't like using good and bad because I don't really think that emotions are good or bad. Some of them feel lovely and some of them don't. But here's the other piece of it is that our brains have a magnificent way of normalizing things that are probably not the healthiest for us. So this can happen a lot when you have experiences in childhood. You get a certain sort of base set point for your feelings. And when that happens, when things are not running along that normal base set point, your body wants to change them. And that can be even when things are moving for the better, you know, a promotion at work, or you find a partner, you get into a new relationship, or something that is quote unquote labeled as good by our culture and our society, or that could make your life better, more financially stable. Somehow, if that doesn't fit within your body's subconscious status quo, then your body will find a way to go back to what you knew, because things that are unfamiliar are bad. Different is deadly, is what Laura Michelle likes to say. And I have seen this happen in working with the animals and working with myself, that frequently when we try to move into a better body state where our body is more in alignment, the first thing that happens is it feels wrong. It feels bad, quote unquote, because it isn't our normal. And so I think it's important to understand when you're looking at changing your state, where are you coming from and why is this important? To me, it's important because that set point, that sort of thermostat set point that your body and your subconscious get dialed to, is not always what's best for us. It's just what we're used to. So when you know that, then making that choice to work on changing your state becomes a little bit more practical, and you can handle yourself with a little bit more grace and a little bit more ease, knowing that you're just trying to do what comes naturally.
What do you mean by comes naturally?
Our bodies will always try to go back to what they're used to. That's going to be the set point. Like I said, different is deadly. And so, therefore, our body is trying to get away from what is different by bringing us back to what is our normal. The problem is, our normal can be kind of messed up. I remember seeing a meme at one point and it said something about if you were a massive reader in childhood, that was probably a trauma response. And I went, ooh. And I sat there for a minute because it was a little bit of a sucker punch. I loved to read as a child. Mm-hmm. I would walk out of the library with stacks of books, stacks. And I could plow through them in a week.
Yeah.
But it was an escape mechanism. It was a way that my body and my mind could get away from the experiences I was having in reality.
Yeah.
And so that was my set point, which is why I don't read fiction, really, because I still have the same appetite for the escape. Yeah. And I know that's not a healthy thing for me. So I look for other ways to change my state that are much healthier now, rather than escaping through the books. Because honestly, I would probably not be running a business if I still did that, because I would do nothing. I would just read.
The escapism is such an interesting one. And I guess when you come to that awareness, it's like, well, what are you escaping from? And
Exactly.
I sometimes just get so overdone and overwhelmed. I used to have such a capacity, but I like what you're saying. And then I spent the weekend gardening because I just was like, you know what, I've been working hard. I don't really want to sit down in front of the computer, and I've really got to deal with this jungle I've got. And it rained really good too, so the earth is really easy to pull things up. And my OCD got fully engaged, and we pulled a bunch of stuff. But I have this like go, 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 and then just bleh. And I know I need to be doing my yoga in the evenings, but I just don't want to. I'd rather just settle in and listen to my book or watch a TV show or just do all the things that successful people don't do. I don't know if
Yeah.
successful people don't do that, but it's not what people talk about. And I know my human design is very much influenced by the external. And I remember having a coach once, and he was doing my human design. He's like, for you, working with a coach that's giving you a whole lot of strategy and giving you a whole lot of stuff will actually disable you rather than enable you. Like, it will make it
Hmm.
harder for you. And that's what I find, like all of this information online and constantly being bombarded, it just makes me feel like I'm less capable as opposed to feeling like I'm empowered to do something. And I really get stuck in that. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I'm tired. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I think that is probably normal the way the internet works. It's a flood of information. And unfortunately, most of it is designed, throw back to the comment about marketing in the last episode, most of it is designed to trigger our systems into wanting more. However, that makes us feel overwhelmed. It makes us feel inadequate. It triggers a lot of other things along with that little tiny dopamine hit that aren't helpful or healthy. And willingly, consciously changing your state is a big deal because it means you have to reject certain things. It means you have to say, no, that's not what we're doing right now. I'm not going to fall into that rabbit hole. That's not helpful or healthy for me in this moment. And so, therefore, I'm going to choose something else. And that action has to happen over and over and over again until the nervous system goes, oh, wait, maybe we do feel better this way. Maybe this is a better thing to be doing. And that takes time. And the hard thing about some of these decisions is that until you're aware enough of it that you are paying attention to notice it over and over and over again, repeatedly, quickly, that nervous system change will be very slow. I've had some experiences on the horses where my trainer would find we would finally untangle something that I was doing that wasn't even conscious. There was a time where we finally figured out that I wasn't loading my right side, my right hip, and my right glute. And when I first did that, I felt like I was about to fall off the horse. The feeling of unbalance was so strong that I wanted to immediately go back to what I had been doing. But what I had been doing wasn't actually balanced. It was just what my brain was used to. And that's the key place. You have to stay in that place of this feels wrong long enough that the nervous system can finally figure it out. I won't say I never have that problem riding anymore. It's still a sticky spot that I have to frequently check in with. But when I get it right, I no longer feel like I'm about to fall off the horse. So eventually the nervous system goes, oh, hey, wait a minute. This is better for us. This is a healthier way to be. This is a more comfortable way to be. Maybe we do want to stay here. But it's being aware that there's something going on in the first place that is required in order to start to begin to make that change. And that's part of what I love about the course from Laura Michelle is those I wonder questions are so powerful because you're not even trying to change anything. You're just wondering, what would it be like if this isn't the choice I make? What would happen if I could choose something different? What would my experience be if I was able to sustain this thing that I think is better for me over time? And when you just get curious about it with no other expectation, no other goal, no other drive, it opens the door for things to begin to shift. And the universe reflects back to us what's going on subconsciously and internally. That's how nature works. It's just a reflection. Things are always reflecting each other, whether it's our pets or nature or ourselves, our relationships, our partners. And when we can start to get curious, that opens the door for different outcomes to come through. There's two types of phrases that she uses in the course, and the one is the I wonder, and the other is the one command, which is I don't know how, blank. I only know it is so now, and I am fulfilled. And part of me really loves that one because I get to admit I don't know how. And I like it because it's not the giving up, I don't know how. It's the saying, I don't possibly have an answer to this question, but I'm going to trust that the answer is out there in the universe and it will come to me and I am fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And to me, that completely takes the pressure off. I don't really like the whole positive affirmation thing. Like it's never done a whole lot for me. I mean, I read The Secret, I did all of those things. I did the workbooks and the exercises, and I didn't really get a lot of results from it. But I also tend to put a lot of pressure on myself when I'm in those sort of states of mind. Like I'm writing about how I'm going to receive X amount of money in a paycheck or something, or sell a product for so many dollars. That feels heavy and a lot of pressure. But when I say, I don't know how I'm going to have my highest income year I've ever had, I only know it is so now and I'm fulfilled. There's a lightness to that because I really don't know how. I may have income coming in from somewhere that I haven't even thought of. And that opens the door for that possibility. Mm-hmm. And so when we're in the middle of a really hard period, I like to use those tools because it doesn't make where I'm at wrong. I just tweaked my back this week and I'm in a lot of pain. And it is because my body use is not where it should be. And I've known that forever, really, honestly. And this is a piece that I've wanted to work on. And the universe has just said, guess what? You're going to figure it out now because you're in pain. And so you have to. And I am in that place where I could get very down in the dumps. Yesterday, I was trying to help Eddie with a project and I dropped something on the floor. And I looked down and I was like, I can't pick that up. Like, if I try, I will either end up crying or I'll end up stuck on the floor, which is not going to be helpful either. And I've had to allow him to help me through this and just keep trusting that my body is going to find its way back to balance in a better way than before I hurt myself. And that maybe this is actually going to give me more tools to be more comfortable all the time instead of just getting out of pain right now. Yeah. And so I can wonder about those things, which helps shift my state and get me out of the, oh my God, I can't even touch the floor at the moment, which makes me feel like I'm like 900 years old.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because there's that thing going around on the internet right now that's like no one talks about what it's like to go from this to this. Have you seen that trend?
And, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it's a trend because I keep seeing the same Instagram reel. It's an interesting one because it's true. Nobody talks about what it's like to go from this to this. And it's not going from being 500 pounds to being 100 pounds. It's the opposite. It's like people that have gone from somewhere here and then they've dropped down. And for some reason, Reagan Hillier keeps popping up in my feed. And it's really interesting because I struggle with this because I don't really know how to feel about it. But they were selling her course on Mindvalley, and I'm drawn to doing something with her. There's a couple of people that I'm very much drawn to doing something with. They were selling her course on Mindvalley, and one of the things was that she had lost weight and she had manifested herself this amazing relationship, and she had manifested building this retreat center in Costa Rica. Well, apparently over the last year her relationship has fallen apart. And it's so fascinating to me when a piece of your story that was part of your success story fails. And there's a part of me that's not nice. And it's like, oh, see, you are not so perfect. Maybe your manifesting formula doesn't really work. Maybe it'd be a waste of money spending money with you. And the other part of me is like, oh, okay, you're human. And real shit happens to real people.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because there's this part of me that does judge other people and that is constantly looking around for this validation that I don't suck that much because these other people that are so perfect also aren't. And I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know whether, it's like comparing my body against other people's. And it's like they say, no one's judging you. I'm like, well, maybe they are because I judge other people.
Well, what I think is interesting about that, though, is that most people are judging you, but they're judging you against themselves. They're too
100%.
busy worrying about how they don't measure up or how they don't have or whatever it is to actually worry about you on a deep level. So it's a very superficial kind of thing. And that understanding that sort of freed me up sometimes with the horse work I do. I exercise my friend's horse once a week at a boarding barn. Very normal, conventional boarding barn. Most of the people there ride what we would call hunter jumper, very normal training methods. And here I come in and I'm doing all this weird stuff, and it frequently looks like I'm doing nothing. Right? There was one day not long ago where I always turn my work on my watch because it has the fall awareness, and sometimes I'm alone. And so I figure, maybe it will know if I take an unplanned dismount and will call authorities, I hope. Anyway, I looked at my workout when I finished, and we had gone like 0.01 miles in 30 minutes. That's how slowly she was walking. But that is part of her rehabilitation. The rest of the barn looks at me like I have two heads because it's strange. It's different to them. However, I get comments that she's the best. They love her so much. She's so well behaved. She's so easy to work with. And I'm like, really strange that I do very unconventional work and she's the horse you guys compliment the most in the barn. Everybody else is a little crazy or has a laundry list of things about them. Like, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? So most people are busy looking at the surface level of what's going on. They're not actually looking deeply into that. But I don't think it's abnormal for any one of us to look at something else and to have a judgment. And I feel like if you just know that that's going to happen, then it's kind of normal. And what you have to do is when you see it, you go, I wonder. And you start asking yourself questions about what might it be like if I didn't worry about that. Not about how you are in comparison to them, but what would it be like if I didn't worry about that thing? What if I wasn't concerned with it at all? What would that look like?
Yeah. Oh, it would just be, it's so interesting because we really can't see into other people's, like, we can't see what's going on. And we really need to stop. It needs to stop being important, right? It's what's going on for us, and it's just moving forward one step at a time. The whole belonging thing. If we choose to not belong, then we won't belong. And that one day at a time and moving through. I was having a really interesting conversation with a girlfriend of mine. I was like, I oscillate between like, why would anyone do anything with me? Because, I haven't done anything. And then I'm like, are you kidding me? I ran 3 businesses. I built them from nothing. My business, when we decided to disband it, was making over $500,000 a year. And I created that from absolutely nothing. I didn't even know what I was doing. And I managed to create that. I know that when I implemented certain strategies, when I was doing things to move the needle, before COVID happened, everything was moving, but it was just moving so fast. And that's kind of what broke me, was that everything just moved way too fast and I couldn't hold on. And then COVID happened. I created a mountain bike business. I created a contract out of nothing. I somehow got this contract. I don't even know where it came from, but I got it. It's not conventional for where we are. And it makes the business over $60,000 a year. But even bigger than that, it provides this absolutely incredible service. And when I saw one of my coaches post about it, it brought me to tears, because they're going into schools and teaching kids how to ride bikes and how to have bike awareness. And it is something that if it was not for me, this would not exist. And I had no idea how I was going to find coaches that would do this program. And there's this team that is so invested in this program. I didn't just create this opportunity for the kids, but I created this thing that these people just absolutely love doing. And this last fall, they got to travel around to all these little towns and go on this little road trip and go to all these places. And the program itself is trying to pull us out of, because they're like, well, these rural, the schools are too small. We're not hitting enough students. And we're arguing back. We're like, but this is what the program was made for. And I have to take the time to stop and be like, I did that. Like, I had the belief and I said, yeah, we're going to make this happen. And I made it happen. And then I was able to sell the business in a tiny little town. I was talking to a guy about some retreats that he does, and I'm oscillating between feeling very small and like, I'm not a good business person. And then we were talking and I made the comment that I built this business in a town of 3,000 people. And he's like, I have no idea how you did that. He has 1,000 people that go through his programs every year, and he's in the Seattle area. And so it's pretty easy to draw 1,000 people out of an area that big. And he's like, I have no idea how you would do that. How are you getting any business in the town? I was like, yeah, there's like 4,000 people. He's like, bike riders? Like, that's your biking market? And I'm like, no. That includes the 0-year-olds and the 70, 80, 90-year-olds. There's 4,000 people in total. So of that, what's the riding population? I mean, it's a rather heavy riding populated area. But of the people that are able-bodied, let's make that 2,000 people. And of that, let's say 50% of them ride bicycles. I'm now dealing with a market of 1,000 people. And somehow I managed to create a sustainable business out of this teeny tiny group. They say you only need 1% of the market, but I needed a lot more than that. And I made it work. And I don't know how I did. And then I have my days where I'm just like, ugh, I suck. Who am I to? There's a women's riding group that's been created in my town. They have 135 people. Of that, only like 5 to 10% of them come out on a weekly basis to go for a bike ride. And so basically you can say that there's only like 200 women that ride bikes in the area. And I was running women's programs and I was getting 12 people to come out. I'm looking at my girlfriend who's running the same program in like the Calgary area, or close enough to it that people are traveling from there, and she's charging twice as much and she's having no problem filling her programs. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with me? I've been doing it twice as long and I'm struggling and only charging half as much. It's like, well, look at your market. As you said, like comparing the apples to apples, and then actually taking a step back and looking at changing your state from like, look at all the ways I've failed to look at all the ways I've actually succeeded is huge.
Well, and the thing too that strikes me about this situation is that sometimes when we do something for the first time, we don't have any idea. And that's why it works, because we're not questioning ourselves constantly. Am I doing this right? It's not like that other time, because there is no other time. And so frequently, when we head into a situation where we're starting something the second time, we're training the second horse, we have a second child, we get another dog, everything goes sideways because it's not like the first time. And all our brain wants to do is apply the same rules that happened the first time to the second time. But the problem is, it doesn't work that way. It's a new time, it's a different time. And every single experience, whether you're building any kind of business, whether you've built the same kind of business before or not, is going to be different. And so changing your state and getting away from the I already did it once this way, that's what worked, why isn't it working again? To I wonder what's needed to make this work a different way. I wonder what creative things I haven't thought of that I could use that might help me here. Or I wonder what resources I have from that old business that might help me apply to the new business. The I wonder questions are so useful for changing state because, again, it takes that pressure off because you don't have to have the answer. All you're doing is getting curious about, is the answer out there? And I think when we can approach it that way, it gives us a lot more room for success because we're not looking at one option. We're not looking at one solution to the problem or thinking there is only one solution to the problem because, frankly, there might be 2 or 3 things that actually help the problem and it takes all of them to take care of it. Yeah. So when we can just go back to wondering, or I don't know how, fill in the blank, I only know it is so now and I am fulfilled, then we have a lot more room for things to come through to us that we never dreamed were possible or didn't even have an idea how to grasp could be possible. Yeah. And that to me is the value of figuring out how to change your state. Number one, you got to be aware that you're in a state that you would rather change. That's step one, is acknowledge. Yeah. Let's be aware of it and acknowledge this is not a place I want to be again. Here I am again. Laura Michelle often calls it the familiar bad feeling place, right? It's our set point. It's our neutral, which is why it's so hard to be aware of. Mm-hmm. And I know I've been in coaching sessions with her and she'll ask me a question like, where does this come from? And I'm like, I don't even know. I have no idea. She asked me once, where does that pressure that you put on yourself come from? And I was like, what pressure? But it's there all the time. It's a constant thing. And so until you're able to raise your awareness enough that you know that that's happening, you can't make any changes. But once you do, then you start to get curious. What might life look like if I were not putting as much pressure on myself? Yeah. What might be possible if I didn't put pressure on myself? Because it opens up more doors for things to come through that you're actually blocking with that energy that you have in that moment. And unfortunately, that energy feels normal. So you have to find a way to be aware of it so that it no longer feels normal. And you can get curious about what it might look like if it were some other way.
Totally. Yeah. And I think also just recognizing when you have things that come up that threaten to take you back to that place as well. You know, like I recently had this awareness around, you know, I'm working into this new space of building out websites, of building out learning platforms. And this is new for me. But what's not new for me is I started building websites back when we were using front page and HTML and there weren't things such as Wix, stuff like that. And I just like playing with the technology. And so I've been doing it for a really long time. I created my Betty Go Hard community before Facebook existed. I found a message board thing and I was playing with it. And I was trying to create this women's community, but I couldn't quite get the technology to fit together. And then Facebook comes out and I'm like, I was so far ahead of the curve. And I've been building out learning programs and I've done some online courses for myself. And there's things that I've built along the way. And booking systems, when you run a business like I did, you get to know booking systems really well and they're not easy and they're challenging to work through. And so I have so much experience, but then I'm moving into this thing and I was talking to this guy and he said 2 things to me. One was really interesting. I was telling him about the podcast and he said to me, well, what makes you qualified to talk about those things? And I was like, I'm human. But it was a very interesting question for him to ask. And I was like, well, we're both coaches. My co host does this and I do this. And I gave him a response. And I was like, well, why do I need to be qualified to host a podcast about life experience stuff? Like, I am totally qualified. And then I was doing some work for him and he didn't like it. And I was like, okay, I've been here before. When I first came to Mexico and I was doing a bunch of lives about being in Mexico and just the hurdles of getting here and just my life. And somebody wrote me a message and they said, you really think you're inspiring because you're walking along the beach in Mexico? Like, you're a joke. And it decimated me, floored me. It stopped me in my tracks. And it took me a while to actually realize that I'd been stopped in my tracks. But I stopped doing what I was doing. And I stopped working towards the dream that I had because of something that one person said. And then I had another situation. It was the same thing. I started to do something and I got knocked down by one person. And that stopped me. And I noticed this and I went, hold on a second. This is one of those tests. Are you going to let this person who didn't like what you did stop you or make you think you don't know what you're doing? And it took me to thinking about Melanie Ann Layer. She's had so many of them. A couple of women had her on a radio show and they just like decimated her. She thought she was going on to talk about what she talks about, and instead they were just there to pick her apart and ask her like why was she qualified to do this, and that basically they told her she was manipulating people and stealing their money. And like, can you imagine? And then she bought the most expensive house on this lake with cash and was in the paper about it. And again, it wasn't a story that was building up this entrepreneurial woman that had made enough money to be able to do this. It was the exact opposite and tore her down. And the amount of shitstorms that she has gone through and continued to hold her head high and keep going and build $100 million business over the last 7 years, it's not about not having haters. It's actually about being able to move through the hate. You know, and again, Reagan Hilliard, she's now being open about the fact that she had a fairly toxic relationship, that she's like, oh, for me to be who I am and to have been in this relationship, like, oh, maybe she could be like, I quit. I'm clearly not qualified to have helped all these people that have had great results from me because of this. But no, instead she's reflecting and moving through it and continuing to use it as part of her story to build. I think that's the changing the state. And when you get really good at being able to not go back to that familiar bad feeling place and be stopped by that stuff, but instead use it as a stepping stone to actually become stronger and better and keep going, that's success.
Yeah. And that's how the nervous system works, right? When you start attempting to make the changes, you're going to have all sorts of things thrown your way that are going to try and pull you back to whatever it was you were dealing with before, whatever your normal set point was. And you simply have to keep looking for the awareness and looking for the new feeling or the new way that you want to be and asking those questions to stay open to the possibility. I still, to this day, can get snuck up on my right side with the horses. And what'll happen is all of a sudden they'll just wobble in that direction. They basically blow through my non-existent right side. And it's like, oh, there it is again. And as soon as I get back in the awareness and get some weight on that side, they straighten back out and go back on the path that we were on. And so it's just a nudge and a reminder. And when you can look at the experiences that come to you in the universe like that and say, oop, there's that reminder that this is not the state that I want to be in, that I am not in the present state that is most helpful to me. What do I need to do? What tool do I need to grab in order to change my state? And that might be a nervous system tool, that might be journaling, that might be meditation, that might be exercise, diet, who knows what that tool is. But when you can use it as the alarm bell that goes ding ding, oop, it's time for me to grab this tool to help me get back to that place that I say I want to be. And it takes 1,000 times. It takes repeating it over and over and over again in different ways and to different degrees, but eventually it starts to get smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. And with the horses, the goal is I feel them shift and recognize that that is when I need to move my weight around and I need to make sure I'm in my right side. And so those changes start to become smaller and smaller and less obvious, less time consuming and energy consuming to your body. But until you have the awareness that there's something that needs to be shifted, none of this will matter. And so that's the place to start, is to start looking for the patterns in your life, looking for the places that, oh, I've been here before. I know what this is like. I've been here before. What do I need to do? What is the best tool I can grab right now that's going to support me through this? And when you start focusing on that, all that other stuff starts to go away. Like the judgments of other people, even the judgments become the little bells. It's like, what tool do I need to grab that's going to help support me right now because this is in my awareness? Yep. And it starts to get easier eventually. That doesn't mean that there's a whole lot of work in between that happens. And it's mostly work that nobody can see. Yeah. And that can be frustrating and disappointing, but it's also critical. And without it, you don't make progress. So it's where you have to begin.
Well, and I think I just want to highlight as we close this up, the thing that you just said that I think is very key is remembering the place that you say you want to be. And constantly asking yourself, you say you want to lose 15 pounds, but are you doing the thing that's going to actually get you there? You say you want to get your podcast up to 1,000 downloads a month, but are you doing the things that are going to actually get you there? Or are you avoiding them so you can continue to sit in that pity feeling of, oh, look, I'm really not good enough. Oh, look, every time I look at my stats, I get on the scale. I can prove to myself that I actually suck.
Yeah.
Or you want to be a better bike rider, but every time you go out, you don't work on anything to make you a better bike rider. And then you're like, oh, look, I've got the evidence to prove that I'm never going to be very good. So like, what are we looking for evidence for? Are we looking Are we looking to confirm that we're not capable? Or are we constantly reminding ourselves of this is who I want to be? And if I want to be that person, what would that person do? Yeah. What would the actions be that person takes?
Yeah. And the not capable is very much part of the familiar bad feeling place.
Absolutely.
Right? That's part of that default set point that is so hard to recognize is there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's so easy to just curl up and let that be real.
Yeah. But we have choice.
And I have to say, the two very cool things about the Train Your Body to Wealth program is it's 40 days of a 10-minute meditation and an invitation to celebrate. And so if those are things that you want to bring into your daily practice, this will support that for you. And if you use our link, there is also a 10% discount if you use the WEEDS10 code, which will also be in the link. So it will only be $87 if you use our discount code. So highly recommend the course. I actually got to the end of it and need to restart. And when you do the course, I highly recommend watching the first workshop as well, because that actually really does set the tone. It's a long one. You do need to take like 3 hours, but you know, apparently I listened to a 3-hour podcast the other day. So, you know, and
you can do that
to like 50 hours of fantasy books in the last week or so. Really helped with the gardening the other day. Really helped with the gardening. So
yeah, which is a choice, right? That's fine.
Yeah, I just had to check out for a while. Too much over achieving success stuff going on.
Overstimulation. Yeah, I think I'm on
Overstimulation.
day 19 the second time through.
Oh,
So I did the 40 days. It was a little bit bumpy for me working out my system of how I would keep track and which buttons to push and all of that. But once I got that down, I did go all the way through, and now I started over because it's layers, right? It's the whole onion principle,
yeah.
and those layers of awareness will keep coming up. It's the nervous system thing that you will get better, and
Mm-hmm.
then the universe will throw something at you and you'll find another layer that you need to work through. And so I just plan to keep rolling through it over and over again because it is useful, it's powerful, it works, but
Yeah.
you do have to put in the time and the dedication and keep coming back to the awareness, keep looking for the awareness. And
Yeah.
that is what will give you the opportunities to make the shifts that actually have lasting impact.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. Well, with that, let's wrap this up. This is literally, we don't know how far we're going to make it through this, and we're going to make this a vulnerable one, and we've just been nattering on for like 50 minutes.
Ever.
So, um, thank you for sticking with us. I hope you liked this episode. I hope it resonated with you. Let us know if we like the episodes where we get vulnerable. Are they helpful, or should we just, sit up on our high horse and pretend to be perfect? Because we can do that. It's not authentic, but we can totally be there for you. So I'm Natasha Lockie, and I'm a business builder, bike coach, life coach, and working out my next steps in life at this point in time. But I've got a lot of experience and have done some really cool things. And really, I've distilled myself to the point right now where it's about helping people cross the line and helping people get out of their own way in whatever area that they're looking to do, because it seems to be what my journey has been about day after day, is how to get out of my own way. Yeah. So thanks for
Love
listening.
it.
You can find me on Betty Go Hard and on Facebook, Natasha Lockie.
Awesome. I am Jenny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. If you are struggling with your pet's relationship or trying to figure out how to get out of some of those patterns that maybe the two of you have together, reflecting each other back and forth, please do reach out. I am sure that we can find a way to support both of you into getting back to harmony together. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Substack, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube under the same handle. So thanks for hanging on through this wild ride through the weeds today. Don't forget to check out that link for Train Your Body to Wealth, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great week. Thank you.